Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well tonight. Right off the rip here, so everybody knows, it's not going to be a very long stream tonight, maybe a half hour. Chit chat a little bit about some of the tips I have for maintaining salt or salinity. Um, just been a rough day, very frustrating. Um, so I'm just not really up to par to give you guys the attention you need. Um, so I hope you guys can understand that. 9 of you in here so far. Skull, Adkins, Mike, Big Shrimpin'. Hope you guys are doing well. So they're watching Griffin before I started this. Pretty good stream. Love when George comes up. Surf City. Hope you're doing well, man. Danny, Freaky Fish Lady. Give it a couple minutes here, and then I'm going to get started right away. Patty, Griffin, good stream, man. Sorry I wasn't too talkative tonight. So how's everybody's week so far? Well, I guess it is the end of the week, huh? Steven. All right. Cool. Got to turn the light out in my living room and you can see it in my tank. It's driving me nuts. No problem, Patty. Hope you have a good night. All right. Go ahead and get started here. Obviously, by the title, we're going to be talking about some tips for maintaining saltwater salinity in tanks, particularly. Not so much mixing it or anything like that. A lot of people seem to get confused, and these are some of the guidelines that I use for myself, and they help. So hopefully they will help some of you. Nothing too crazy. It's all super simple stuff. Quick. I kind of need to be tonight. Here we talk about stuff like topping off, one-to-one water changes, mashing, compensating for salt creep, all sorts of stuff. So hope it's useful. First, let's talk about matching salinity when mixing new salt water. Replacement salt water you use for water changes kind of has to be the exact same salinity as the dirty water you're taking out. If not, obviously you're either going to have too high of salinity or too low of salinity for the goal that you're trying, or the range you're trying to keep for what's in the tank, which can cause some serious problems, especially for corals. It's a little more important with corals to maintain your salinity. So making sure you're adding in the same salinity water as you are taking out is really going to help. Also, don't rely on the measurement you get immediately after mixing salt water. You're going to want to wait 12 to 24 hours, I'd say, with it running with some heat and some air. And a lot of times you'll find that the salinity is a little bit different than what you measured right when you mixed it. But letting it do that also overnight is kind of beneficial too. Get a nice mix, one, It's up to temp for 2 and 3. You're able to get a little more precise of a reading. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about one-to-one water changes, meaning if you take 5 gallons of salt water out of your tank, exactly 5 gallons, you're going to want to replace exactly 5 gallons back into the tank. And it kind of goes back to the same situation we were talking about before. You don't put enough in, your salinity is going to be lower than what it was when you started, or higher. So that's going to help keep it nice and stable for you too. What I like to do when doing top off or water changes, I mark the sump at a certain point, so I know exactly how much water I'm taking out and how much to put back in. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can use a container of some sort, or whether it be a bucket or whatnot. You just want to make sure you're still putting back in exactly as much as you took out. So keep that in mind. Now, salt creep. Obviously, you can visibly see the salt leaving your tank in this manner. In that case, it's obviously lowering your salinity. So over time, it's going to dissolve, and you're going to want to replace it with little bits of salt. You can dump it. There's been times depending on what's in there, like a Fowler display, you can dump the salt directly into the tank or the sump, but a mix right there usually to compensate for the amount of salt creep is not enough to hurt anything. So if you just dump the salt directly into the sump, you'll be all right. And besides that, just kind of keeping stuff wiped down so it's not so ugly. The salt creep does not look pretty. Nobody likes salt creep. Now, top off from evaporation with fresh water. Salt and other solids don't dissolve like water does. So obviously your salinity is going to increase as your water volume goes down. So if you top off with straight RO or fresh water, you should be able to keep it pretty stable. It's pretty easy to see, whether it be through your sump or through the top rim of your tank. You can see the water level going down. That's your evaporation. So yeah, just kind of, and what I like to do, I put my customers and myself when I'm there, whenever I do feeding, I make it a daily chore. When I'm feeding, I top off. So every time I go by that tank to feed or whatever, I'm topping off that tank, whether it be, a quarter of a gallon or a gallon, it doesn't matter. It takes 30 seconds to do. It's the easiest way to do it. Unless you have an automatic top off system. Besides that, you just got to make sure your reservoir is filled with fresh water at all times. You're pretty much good to go on that part. But yeah, you just want to make sure you're replacing the same amount of water that is evaporated, so that way you're not running your salinity down because you put too much fresh water in. And those are some of my best tips that I have. Another one, I guess, could be try not to forget the small stuff. For fish stores, for instance, Gina, I'm sure she has to deal with this all the time. She's bagging fish constantly. And in those cases, you're not taking regular water from some other reservoir or whatever. No, you're taking water directly from that tank and putting it in that bag, bagging it up and sending it with the customer. So you're losing water out of that tank. Okay. You're losing salt little bit by little bit. And after a while, it will go down, especially if auto top offs. So you're really going to have to pay attention to that sometimes. So if you're constantly removing water, moving fish or whatever, acclimating fish as well. Because a lot of, personally, I don't keep the water that I use to acclimate fish. I'll toss it out, and then I put the fish in, and I'll toss that water out. So, and all that adds up. So every once in a while, if you know you're going to be moving a lot of water out of the tank, little bit by little bit, it's good to kind of give it a good check and compensate for what you use. Um, Salt creep, back to that a little bit. There's lots of little factors that most people don't give much thought to that have an effect on salinity over time, um, like acclimating and selling fish to customers. And if you get into reef keeping, bagging up corals too, same deal. It all adds up. When you're doing routine maintenance, even the water you get all over the floor, all over you, that's all over the equipment, it's all removing salt from the tank. Um, and, it can be bad. Like I said, with regular testing and topping off and whatnot, you should do just fine. I like to write out a little plan for most of my saltwater tanks, um, especially my more expensive ones that have corals and stuff like that. Just so I have an idea exactly what needs to be done, how much water needs to be taken out. Usually about how much water I'm losing between doing various activities. Um, it can really be beneficial because with working so many tanks, in my case, it's hard to remember them all. So the more information you're able to write down and put back for yourself is really going to help. Even if you're just a hobbyist, it doesn't matter. It helps. Having a notebook or a notepad is life in my eyes. Going back to keeping notes, um, doing like a chart or something to kind of keep track of your salinity over extended periods of times, whether it be weeks, months, a year, so on. Um, yeah, it's a good idea to keep track of that because it's because over time you'll know where that tank needs to be. If there's any fluctuations or anything, you're going to see it right away, and you're able to kind of nip things in the butt before they even happen. In that case, you do the same thing with all your other parameters too. Um, so yeah, it's about all I have on that. My most useful tips that I have, we'll go a little more in depth on salinity later on. That's just it's a lot to get down and to absorb. So we'll start here. Hope you guys learned a little bit from that, whether you've been keeping for a while or not. I know it's pretty simple stuff, but hey, I always wondered how much stress adding RODI to top off a tank would do for fish. None. And most of the time, it's relieving what could be causing a problem. You have too high a salinity, can be an issue. You have too low a salinity, could be an issue. So, um, but dumping it right in, usually you have a bunch of power heads and stuff in the tank already. It just blows it all around and mixes it up right away. Adding RODI to already mixed salt water, it mixes instantly. It doesn't cause any issues. You just got to worry about temperature. That can be an issue. I've seen cases where you dump in some pretty cold RODI water in a nice warm reef tank. It'll kind of, it won't necessarily hurt them. It definitely stresses them out, kind of stuns them a little bit. But corals and certain species of fish and invertebrates can kind of have a negative reaction to the temperature. How much stress on corals would a difference of 0.001 make if I added 1.203 saltwater tank? That was one. It's not going to be too much of an issue. Um, one way to kind of react that is just adding a little bit of fresh water. If it's 1.0, just add a little bit of fresh water and problems fixed. So it's not really that detrimental. Um, 0.001% is not really going to make a whole lot of a difference unless you're super anal about it. It can be. It can definitely be very beneficial, big shrimp, for an auto top off. But in some cases, it's just not applicable. You either don't have the space or whatever. Can't afford it. They're coming out with some pretty cheap ones now, though, and they work well. Select Pet, how's it going, man? Glad you can make it. Hope the fish club meeting was well. I don't, for my personal tanks, I don't like using auto top off systems. That's just because it keeps me a little more attentive on my water levels. It makes me go check, it makes me pay attention to the tank. Um, and it's also sometimes a method I use to teach people how to maintain their tanks a little better is by not giving them an ATO or not letting them have one, because it makes them pay attention to it. It's the same reason I don't use auto water change systems for myself. I have so many tanks and stuff, it forces me to look at every tank. And the person I am, I enjoy having that extra level of quality check for my tanks. Top off tanks at the store every day, checking the salinity first to know if we need to add salt or RO. Yep. I'm sure you guys are also topping off after bagging up a bunch of fish out of a tank too. Some of them fish require lots of water to bag. Melissa, hope you're doing good. Saints Dust, Amateur, Scotty, Nathan, GRB. All right. You're going to feel like if I had an auto top off, I would become complacent. Yeah. Yep. And I've watched a lot of people become complacent over time. People that have been really good reef keepers and stuff, stuff that I've learned, people that I've learned a lot of stuff from. They go, oh, I'm going to get all these auto top offs or auto water change systems. And then after so long, I kind of notice them get complacent and stuff starts going wrong, breaking. And to me, it's another fail point and something to not make me, or to make me think of my tank less, I guess. But they can also be beneficial in my case because that means I don't have to go to a customer's house and add water to a tank myself if they don't know how or don't feel comfortable doing it. So in cases like that, they're beneficial to me, and I have used them for that. Sometimes if we are taking a large angel or tang, we will, but we keep the sumps filled with enough water. We usually make it through the day. We check them at open and close. Heck yeah. Focus so hard with making my tanks as easy to maintenance as possible with fresh water, and I kind of got bored. Yeah. And there's other ways around it. After you get to the point where you make everything as maintenance easy as possible, you build off that because at that point right there, you have a good building platform to work on what you have and upgrade and advance that particular system or stuff as time goes. And personally, that's the way I like doing it because I never know exactly what I want to do right off the rip. And I'm not going to sit there and spend months and months and months and months planning out a tank for myself because I know I want it now and I want to get it done now. So I'll start a tank and get it to my base that I like, nice and simple and easy, um, and work off of that. Do they make something I can keep plugged in, and it will always tell me salinity, and and I never have to calibrate it? Nope, not calibrated. No, you're not going to find anything that you'll never have to calibrate. Unfortunately, I wish. But no, every probe that you're going to find that keeps track of salinity and stuff like that, you're going to have to calibrate regularly. but they do allow you to plug it in and forget about it temporarily, if that makes sense. um, I do sometimes, Ritesh. There's been a few species that I've gotten that are worth quite a few thousands of dollars, and I'm just not taking a chance with it. So for that extra layer of protection, I will drip acclimate unless they're in some sort of immediate danger, the water's fouling or something like that. I'll go ahead and just get them figured out. But if they're expensive and sensitive, I like that extra level of security for me. Mountain Greenery, Aquarium Life. How are you guys doing? Right. We actually have a transcontinental shipment coming tomorrow. I need to pick up from the store or the airport. 16 boxes. Have fun with that. It sounds like a mess and a headache all at once. Hopefully, you get some cool stuff in though, and you don't have any losses. Oh, shit. I hate transcontinental shipping. It is the most nerve-wracking thing I have ever had to deal with. I did not enjoy it. I think it would be easier, like if I was in Gina's shoes and picking up for someone else, but having your own money and everything invested in it, it's racking. It's only a $9,000 order. Right, right. Only. Well, thank you, New Austin. Glad to see you here. And that's good. It's boring. It is good. I'd rather work be boring than crazy. Eric Wyrock, what's going on, man? Oh yeah, Gene, I forgot about those salinity testers, those glass bobber things. I've only used them like once or twice and didn't really care for it. So I've never used them again. But yeah, those are a thing. Just gotta make sure salt creep doesn't get them. No worries, Melissa. Glad you can make this one. Sorry, it's not going to be a very long one tonight, guys. Just a very frustrating day. Just need some me time. that makes any sense. I hope that's acceptable. Hmm. It's going to be a busy week this week for us, though. Um, got a lot planned for you guys this week. They do glass box, but that's what I was talking about. That you have to constantly calibrate them to make sure they're reading accurately. First, you have to calibrate them before you use them, and then um, calibrate them regularly after that as well. It will be, Melissa. I'm gonna make it better. We're using the HANA Salinity tester at work right now, and we have to calibrate it daily. Yep. Even the like the real expensive Apex systems, you have to calibrate regularly. It is, Danny. It is. Do you have a tester solution or something to calibrate? Yes. It comes with a solution that you have to use to calibrate it in. I mean, it's not hard by any means. It's just a pain in the ass to have to remember to do it. We had a green brick style salinity tester that didn't have to be calibrated as often, but someone dropped it and broke it. That's shitty. Oh, I was being sarcastic. Calibrate my refractometer once a week. Yeah. One day, maybe I'll go saltwater. You should. It's definitely a cool experience. Start small, work big. It is glass box, but after a couple months, 6 months, year, it starts becoming almost second nature. A lot of the stuff you end up doing without even thinking about anymore. It becomes just like keeping a freshwater tank with extra steps. That's really it. Need to invent a digital meter that tells you all water parameters and doesn't require daily calibrating. I'll settle for quarterly. Need for both salt and fresh, please. I would love to come up with something like that. I would be a rich son of a bitch. Sad as it is. Oh, fuck yeah. I'd have to talk to some people to see what something like that would take. Because I know people have tried, but I think it's way more expensive than what your average consumer would really ever be able to afford, the sensors and stuff that you would need for it. So it's definitely something to look into. ADHD, how's it going? Hope you're well. You don't even want to find your speed, just a free sample? That's a deal. Well, that's the thing, though, Gina. From what I understand, the only reason it's not is because it's so damn expensive for this particular sensors and stuff that you would need to do it that it's just not really comprehensible or not really logical or even kind of possible for an average consumer to accept. I was reading at one point they were doing deep salt or deep oceanographic um, research in the Marianas Trench, and they were talking about the salinity sensors that they used to test the salinity at certain depths. Um, and one of those sensors is $25,000 a piece. So, I mean, if that kind of puts little things into more perspective, is why they haven't. Um, it'd be pretty cool to find something, maybe some sort of alternative. They definitely would have found it by now, I feel, though. I used to have to calibrate blood sugar testers at work. We had different solutions for different companies too, so I understand it now. Yeah. Yep, pretty much the same thing. I wonder what we would have at work. I've never seen a biologist walking around with a hydrometer. Ask one. Ask them. It would definitely be um, something interesting to find out, or if something has been invented like that and it's just not publicly available, or something like that. Probe somewhere in the filtration system? Could be. Very well could be. Especially if they're big industrial filtration systems. The control panels for them damn things are wild. For some tanks. I wonder what kind of monitoring system they have at the St. Louis Aquarium. Ask them. Most of them are pretty open about that stuff. Hmm. Yeah, a lot of them are automated, yes. But you still have people coming in there to do testing every day, um, and doing general maintenance every day. They say automated, but they all usually always require some sort of maintenance or upkeep in their day-to-day running. We have multiple filtration rooms and a computer that gives certain readings for different exhibits over multiple buildings. I believe it is water level and temp mostly. Yeah. And I can understand that because it is extremely expensive to set up monitoring systems for every exhibit, for every tank, for everything. It'd be really expensive. Yeah, I saw it, Melissa, but I'm also a bit disappointed in him about the whole bit. I feel like instead of paying people to do the stuff for him, he should learn to do it for himself and then pay other people to do it for him. If that makes sense. So I have a water quality lab. Yep. When walking past, I've never noticed the hydrometer. Interesting. I went behind the scenes at the zoo. A former Petco employee works there, saw me and some others there, and showed us behind the scenes for the sea lions, penguins, and polar bears and such. That's pretty cool. Oh, are you talking about when he went and visited somebody in New York, Melissa? Oh, okay, yeah. I saw that. Yep. It was a very pretty tank. Definitely impressive. It's all monitored automatically. They have a whole computer system. Ask them how much that computer system is, and it'll blow your fuzzy fucking mind. You got a fucking 1.5 million filtration system, and then the computer system just to run that is almost just as much. It's wild. There's a reason I don't do industrial setup. Question about uploading a video via phone app. If I put at and then the person name in the description, do they get notified? I believe so. I believe so. I may be wrong, though. Florida Reef Preservation. Heck yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and hop off here. Go drink a few more drinks and watch TV. So I'm feeling tonight. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get to bed anytime soon. So, and I haven't binge watched anything in a while. So I might take a couple hours and watch some TV shows. Next stream is Tuesday. So I hope to see you all there. I'll be there for sure. If you guys need anything, need to get a hold of me, email, Discord, Instagram. Find that all on fishfam.link. Yeah. Here soon that fish room is going to be getting closer to being done. I'll be back in there. I'm excited for that. I'm tired of taking up so much room in my dining room. It just feels cluttered to me. I don't like it. Can't wait for that. The blue coat shoes should be getting shipped out to me soon. I think it's the 16th. I ordered them over Christmas, but I don't think getting shipped out until the 16th. So, which is already gives me some extra time for that tank to get going the way it needs to be. And for the blue coat shoes, we're getting those Cipollini Corys and some rabbit snails. It'll be a pretty little tank. I'm excited. But yeah, I'm out of here. Bye, guys. Thanks for being here and listening to me talk. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Catch you next time.